Bouga Hakbe Jacques 0%. Issa Chiroma 819, soit 66,75%. Iodi Iram Samuel 12, soit 0,98%.
Number 1. Hello and welcome to Intervlog, your global insight platform where we observe, analyze, and connect the dots between the most significant events shaping our world today. In today's episode, we turn our attention to Cameroon, a Central African nation of nearly 30 million people, a country rich in culture, history, and complexity, where President Paul Biya, the world's oldest head of state at 92 years old, has just been re-elected for an 8th term, extending his more than 4-decade rule until 2032. The election results, announced by Cameroon's Constitutional Council, have stirred both celebration and controversy. Mr. Biya won 53.66% of the votes, while his main challenger, Issa Chiroma Bakari, a former government minister, secured 35.2%. Yet, almost immediately, opposition voices rejected the outcome, describing it as a masquerade and calling for demonstrations. The aftermath has been marked by protests, clashes, and arrests, raising serious questions about governance, democracy, and the political future of a nation that has known only 2 leaders since its independence from France in 1960. At Intervlog, our purpose is not to take sides but to connect perspectives, to explore how this single national event reflects a wider pattern seen across parts of Africa and the world, the tension between continuity and change, between power and the will of the people. On Monday, Cameroon's Constitutional Council officially declared President Paul Biya the winner of the country's presidential election. The announcement confirmed what many analysts had predicted, that the long-serving leader, in power since 1982, would secure yet another 7-year term. Yet the results themselves tell a deeper story. According to official tallies, Biya received 53.66% of the votes. His main rival, Issa Chiroma Bakari, garnered 35.19%, and the rest was divided among smaller candidates. Cabral Libby with 3.4%, Bello Buba Maigari with 2.5%, and Hermine Patricia Ndam Njoya, the only woman candidate, with 1.7%. However, voter turnout stood at just 46.3%, a figure that reveals more than numbers can say. It reflects perhaps a sense of fatigue, skepticism, or even fear among parts of the electorate. As the results were announced, tension spread across the country. From the northern city of Garoua to the economic capital Douala and the political heart Yaoundé, the streets told their own version of the story. Opposition supporters took to the streets to defend what they believe was a stolen victory. According to Chiroma's camp, their own parallel count showed 54.8% of votes in their favor, compared to 31.3% for Biya. But these claims led to confrontation. In Douala, 4 protesters while more than 100 were arrested as security forces reportedly fired tear gas and live ammunition to disperse crowds. In Garoua, 2 morts were reported near the residence of Issa Chiroma Bakari. Across the country, public gatherings were banned, roads were blocked, and an uneasy silence settled over major cities. An AFP reporter on the ground confirmed seeing at least 1 protester shot, though that could not be independently verified. Such incidents illustrate how fragile the situation remains. In some parts of Cameroon, where memories of past unrest still linger, the atmosphere is tense, uncertain, and heavy with questions about what comes next. Paul Biya is not just a president. He is an institution, a man who has governed Cameroon for over 42 years, longer than many Cameroonians have been alive. Under his rule, Cameroon has experienced relative stability compared to some of its neighbors. But critics argue that this stability has come at the cost of freedom, pluralism, and accountability. As the world's oldest president, Biya has long been seen as both a symbol of endurance and a reminder of how power can linger beyond its natural lifespan. In Cameroon, people often say, "Quand le vieux lion rugit encore, les jeunes lions écoutent." When the old lion still roars, the young lions listen. It's a parable that captures the balance between respect for seniority and the impatience of youth. But in the political context, it raises a different question. When does continuity become stagnation? Issa Chiroma Bakari, Biya's main rival, is not a newcomer to Cameroonian politics. Once a government insider, he broke ranks and campaigned on a platform of national renewal, promising a 3 to 5 year transition period to rebuild the country. He accused Biya of destroying Cameroon through decades of centralized control, inequality, and a lack of opportunity for youth. In his words, there was no election, it was a masquerade. Such claims have resonated especially with young Cameroonians, many of whom say they are frustrated with unemployment, limited freedoms, and what they perceive as an unchanging political elite. One protester in Marua, Umaru Buba, age 27, told reporters, "I am ready to stake my life to defend my vote. I voted for Chiroma because I want change." This single sentence captures the emotion behind the protests, a desire for transformation in a system many see as unyielding. From the early hours of Monday morning, police and security forces filled the streets of Yaoundé and other cities. Their mission: to ensure the security of the electoral process and prevent unrest. Shops closed, gas stations shut down, traffic vanished. Many Cameroonians chose to stay indoors, watching events unfold from their television screens, cautious, alert, uncertain. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Biya, told reporters that several people plotting attacks had been arrested. He emphasized the government's commitment to maintaining law and order. But critics argue that the government's version of order often comes at the cost of civil liberties. As one observer noted, Cameroon's streets are quiet, not because people are at peace, but because they are afraid. Since its independence from France in 1960, Cameroon has had only 2 leaders, Ahmadou Ahidjo and Paul Biya. This extraordinary continuity is rare, and depending on one's perspective, it can be interpreted as either a sign of stability or a symptom of democratic stagnation. Paul Biya assumed power in 1982, in the early years of the post-colonial era, when many African nations were still grappling with the challenges of self-rule. Over the decades, Biya has survived coups, conflicts, and crises, navigating both domestic insurgencies and shifting global alliances. But today, in 2025, as the world evolves, the question many ask is, can Cameroon evolve too? In French, there is a saying, "On ne peut pas éternellement danser avec le même tambour." One cannot dance forever to the same drum. The proverb implies that change, though uncomfortable, is an inevitable rhythm of life. Yet in Cameroon's case, that rhythm has been carefully controlled, muted by political choreography that ensures the same hand keeps the drum. Cameroon's population is young, with over 60% under the age of 30. This generation has grown up in a world of smartphones, social media, and a growing awareness of how governance works elsewhere. Many of them have never known another president. To them, Paul Biya is not just a leader, he is history itself, a man whose photograph has hung in classrooms, offices, and public buildings for generations. Their frustration is not merely political, it's also existential, a feeling that their future is being decided by those who have already lived theirs. As one youth activist said in Douala, "We respect him, but we also want our turn." That sentiment reflects a broader continental pattern, where young Africans are increasingly demanding representation, renewal, and reform. Globally, reactions to Cameroon's election have been measured. Foreign governments have largely urged calm, emphasizing the need for dialogue and peace. Human rights organizations, meanwhile, have expressed concern over reports of arrests and restrictions on free assembly. Analysts describe the election as predictable but volatile, a moment where the status quo prevailed, but not without social cost. For Cameroon's neighbors and partners, the stability of the country remains critical to the Central African region, where security challenges, from separatist movements to cross-border militancy, continue to demand attention. In that sense, Biya's longevity provides a degree of continuity that some in the international community quietly appreciate, even as they recognize the democratic deficit it represents. For Paul Biya, the 8th term represents more than just another mandate. It is a legacy term, a period in which he will be remembered either as the man who held Cameroon together or the man who could not let it move forward. At 92, his leadership raises the question of succession, a delicate subject in Cameroonian politics. The structures around him, political, military, and administrative, have long been built around his authority. And while his re-election ensures continuity, it also prolongs uncertainty about what happens when he eventually leaves the stage. Quand l'arbre tombe, la forêt retient son souffle. When the great tree falls, the forest holds its breath. It's a powerful Cameroonian saying that captures the weight of transition, the silence, the pause, the moment between what was and what will be. Cameroon today stands at a crossroads. On one side is continuity, the familiar leadership of a president who has guided the nation for decades through crisis and calm alike. On the other is change, the restless energy of a younger generation demanding to be heard. The coming years will determine whether these two forces can coexist, whether Cameroon can find a balance between experience and renewal, authority and inclusion. For now, the streets remain quiet, the people reflective, and the world watching. As Intervlog, our role is not to predict the future, but to observe its unfolding, to connect local realities to global patterns, and to remind our viewers that every headline carries a human story behind it. Cameroon's story, like that of many nations, is still being written. And as the old lion roars once more, the young lions wait, not in silence, but with hope. Le fleuve ne refuse pas la pluie, même quand il déborde. The river does not refuse the rain, even when it overflows. Change, in the end, will come, not by rejection, but by adaptation. And that, perhaps, is Cameroon's greatest test ahead. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.